Hi, my name is Ashley Kortson, and this is my research proposal presentation. My topic is parolees, social stigma, and reintegration. For my interest in the topic, I am currently employed by the Division of Adult Parole Operations in California with the career objective of becoming a licensed clinical social worker to serve the parolee population. Understanding the barriers that parolees face in successfully reintegrating into society is crucial for developing effective assistance strategies. My problem statement is as follows. Parolees often face negative judgment or stigma when returning to society. This can be detrimental to their mental health, making them feel isolated and unwelcome. These struggles might lead them to withdraw from others or even return to crime, showing why understanding stigma's effects is important for successful reentry. Some emergent themes that I found while conducting my research was parolees facing unfair treatment and the justice system not doing enough to help them return to normal life. The second theme involves the parolees struggling with education, family, and being accepted back into the community. And the third theme is parolees feeling judged or left out, which can end up hurting their chances of starting over. There is some gaps in the research. It shows the need for support, but fails to focus on the emotional or mental health effects of stigma. And it also fails to deeply explore how judgment affects mental health. My research will study how being judged or blocked from jobs and housing hurts people on parole. I'll focus on the emotional and psychological effects of this stigma and how it makes it harder for them to succeed. The study will investigate how these barriers hurt their emotional well being and increase their chances of recidivism. My research study question is: how does social stigma during reentry affect parolees' mental health, relationships, and chances of successfully rebuilding their lives? In terms of the proposed study design, the best overarching study design for my study would be non experimental, specifically a qualitative design. The study design is best because I will be observing relationships between stigma, mental health, and reentry outcomes and not manipulating variables. It is unethical and impractical to assign stigma or control parolees' experiences. The non experimental design allows me to use interviews, surveys, or existing data to explore real world patterns and personal experiences. The sampling method that I will be using for my study is the non probability method, purposive sampling. Purposive sampling is a research method where you intentionally choose your study participants based on a specific, predefined purpose rather than picking them at random. The idea is that for certain research questions, some individuals or groups are better equipped to provide valuable and unique insights into the topic. I would be able to use my own judgment to identify and select these key people, aiming for quality of information over a broad, general representation of the population. The specific steps for my proposed recruitment approach would be one, reach out to supervisors within the parole complex I work at and get permission to distribute the survey. Two, develop recruitment materials. A short, clear flyer will be created that states the study's purpose, confidentiality, and how long the survey takes. There will be a special focus on how taking the survey will be completely anonymous. Confidentiality will be maintained at all times. Step three, distribute the surveys and encourage other staff to share the survey with parolees in their caseloads. Step four, make myself accessible for anyone who may have questions about the survey, especially when it comes to anonymity, and provide assistance for those parolees who may have limited literacy. Step five, collect and secure the data. I will store the completed survey securely and will not collect any identifying information in order to keep it completely confidential. For my study, data will be collected using a survey, short interviews, and focus groups. Surveys are a good choice because they let participants share their personal experiences and feelings about stigma, mental health, and challenges during reentry in a simple and structured way. Participants can answer questions about how judged or supported they feel, how often they feel isolated, and what struggles they face with family, work, or school. To get a fuller picture and make the results more trustworthy, data will come from multiple sources like parolees themselves, staff from reentry programs, and possibly community members who interact with parolees. Using different methods, such as combining surveys with short interviews or focus groups, could also help to confirm my findings from a different angle. This process is called data triangulation. Data triangulation can reveal a social phenomenon's complexity by providing a fuller picture. It can also help to reduce mistakes or bias from relying on just one source. When talking about sensitive topics like feeling judged or struggling with mental health, parolees might not tell the truth. They might say what they think the researcher wants to hear rather than their real feelings because they worry about how their answers might affect them. Surveys could be deemed too simple since they only allow certain answers and might not ask the right questions to fully understand the unique, complicated struggles people face when rejoining their community. It may also be tough to find and keep people on the study due to a lack of trust. Information might conflict due to asking different groups of parolees about the same issues. Their answers might not match up. Using multiple methods to collect data is a great idea. However, it does require a lot of extra time, effort, and possibly more to manage. And possibly more people to manage all of the different information I would be collecting. In order to prepare and address for the possible limitations listed in the previous slide, I would ensure strong confidentiality. I would clearly explain that all the answers will be kept private and won't affect their parole status or relationship with the reentry program. I will build trust by spending time building a good rapport with participants prior to asking sensitive questions. A warm, non judgmental approach can make the parolees feel more comfortable sharing honest feelings. Neutral questions would be used, and questions would be worded carefully to avoid leading people to a socially acceptable answer. Using a mix of question types would also be useful. Combining structured, easy to answer questions with open ended questions that allow participants to write in their own detailed experiences and feelings would help to ensure that the survey is not too simple. In order to be more flexible, I would schedule interviews and focus groups at convenient times and locations, possibly outside of normal working hours to accommodate their schedules. Collaborating with staff would be useful in order to leverage existing trusting relationships and identify potential participants who are genuinely interested in sharing their experiences. Being realistic without planning would allow me to plan for the being realistic about planning would allow me to plan for the extra time needed for data collection and analysis when creating a timeline for my study. Finally, clearly defining roles by assigning specific tasks to each team member would be beneficial in terms of helping to manage the workload effectively and ensure that things run smoothly. By asking participants about their struggles with mental health support, employment, and family reintegration, I can pinpoint specific gaps in current human services. I will be able to highlight the invisible struggles that parolees deal with daily. My study could put a spotlight on the often hidden social conditions and daily challenges faced by people with a criminal record. I could also challenge assumptions. The data that I collect could help challenge common myths or negative assumptions that society might have about people who have been incarcerated, offering a more humanized understanding of their experiences and mental health needs. My research could also provide a voice. It would give a direct platform to a community that often feels unheard. My study could also provide concrete, evidence based recommendations for reentry programs, social workers, policymakers, and community organizations. The insights from my program could directly inform the redesign of existing services and guide future policy. The results could be used to advocate for policy changes at the local or even state level. Pushing for reforms that reduce stigma, increasing funding for mental health support, and making it easier for people to successfully reintegrate back into society. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to listen to my presentation.